political analyst. You're joining us from Paris, Marwan. It's good to talk to you on this. And there's a big gray area. There are a lot of questions around this. We have very little certainty, and it kind of feels like we've been here before. But there's so much movement around this today. It feels like it could be something. There could be real movement.
Well, I know you being a journalist and we being a news network, clearly you are not taking General Gantz's advice about just calming down, sitting it quietly until we hear exactly what is going to transpire out of Cairo. Because as a news media, we try to get ahead of the current, as it were. And clearly there are a lot of expectations. You know, one of the things we've learned in a long experience in media and academia is that when there are leaks, one has to look who's behind the leak and why they are leaking it. So those who are leaking all the optimism are certainly leading a sort of a strategy by optimism, meaning you continue to push towards that there is good news coming, a ceasefire is imminent, and then if you are the United States and Israel, you would say, well, Hamas is to be at fault for finally, you know, breaking its word or walking back what its promises and so on and so forth. On the other hand, if there is really a serious momentum, and that's why different countries are sending their technical teams to Cairo, because now it's just a question of details and getting those out of the way in order to finalize the deal, then we could be onto something. Now, how? How did we get there if, in fact, Netanyahu continues to say that he will be attacking Rafah come what may, deal or no deal, something that is an anathema to Hamas that will never accept? And what is of Hamas's basic principled, if you will, demands that Israel withdraw its forces eventually from Gaza, or that a population of Gaza will be able to go back to its homes, or that there will be some serious reconstruction, and so on and so forth. Now, briefly, I would say the following. It seems that the ball has moved from Hamas and Israel to Israel and the United States. If the United States has given Hamas guarantees on all of these issues, that means the clash of the wills is going to be between Biden and Netanyahu moving forward. Because if the Biden administration gives the Palestinians, the Egyptians, and the Qataris guarantees that they do guarantee that Israel will do 1, 2, 3, then it's going to be up to Washington to make sure that those guarantees are respected. And it seems what we heard earlier in the news hour from the Hamas spokesperson, that this could, in fact, be enough for Hamas.
Yeah, it's interesting because Hamas spoke to Al Jazeera, I'm looking at the clock, about 5.5 hours ago now, right? That's the latest update that we got directly from a Hamas representative. And they firmly, in that interview, put the ball in the U.S.'s court. Because they said, we want a U.S. guarantee. We want no Israeli invasion, intervention of Rafah. And we're obviously not going to take Israel's word for it, but we would take the U.S.'s word for it. That puts the U.S. in an interesting situation. I was going to say a bind. I don't know if it's the right word.
It is a bit of a bind in the sense that we know that Netanyahu has been humiliating the Biden administration like there's no tomorrow. Every time the American administration showers the Netanyahu governments and rewards the Netanyahu governments for its war crimes, for breaking its promises to the United States, for refusing American advice. The record shows that moving forward, probably Netanyahu will continue on the same path. There's no reason why he should change on going on that path, especially that he does have, at least theoretically speaking, or declaratively speaking, coalition partners that continue to threaten to leave his coalition if, in fact, he signs on a ceasefire. So we have a situation that is fluid, to say the least. But at the same time, I'll add another dimension to all the forces that are at work. We've seen more domestic pressure on the Biden administration, especially from the universities and across the cities in the United States. We've also seen more pressure domestically in Israel, including by the likes of Gantz and Eisenkot and so on and so forth, for the Netanyahu government to clarify what the heck is its position. moving forward. So you could say there are some serious pressures now, and that the war did, in some horrible ways, achieve its objectives in the sense of destroying Gaza and incapacity to destroy Hamas. And there is a real American fear and a real American objection to the invasion of Rafah. Same goes for Egypt and Jordan and Saudi Arabia and others. So we are stuck now. And hence the only way to move the ball forward is something that I did speak about over the past many weeks and months, is that as in every negotiations between Palestinians and Israelis, it's the United States that steps in and gives guarantees to both sides to make both sides happy. And then it is the United States that is responsible for those promises. Now, we know, for example, from the Oslo process that started in 1993, the so-called peace process, the United States did give the Palestinian a number of guarantees, but those guarantees were not respected by the various Bush and other administrations, right? Even Clinton administration. The settlements increased. Jerusalem was basically, confiscated and recognized by the United States as capital of Israel, and so on and so forth. So now Hamas decides, like the PLO, to place its confidence, its trust in the United States. That if the United States gives those guarantees, that the United States will fulfill its promise. We will see now.
Yeah, as I listen to you, Marwan, I'm reminded of the words of Osama Hamdan, which I actually understand better listening to you. When he spoke to us 5 hours ago, he said, look, we want guarantees from the U.S., but that's necessary, but it's not sufficient. We also want to see the details of the deal. And he stressed that point several times. And I think you just highlighted why. Marwan Bishara, Al Jazeera senior political editor, thank you so much for joining us.